Thank you so much for watching. I'm so excited that you are all here with me today on my first ever video on YouTube. This is such an exciting journey for me, and I can't wait to create even more content down further along in my journey. This video today is on this makeup right here. This is my go-to winter glam. So if you want to see how I got this look, then please keep watching and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I'm going to dip into the Jaclyn Hill palette. I'm going to use the third shade on the top row. I'm going to dip into it lightly. Every time I use an eyeshadow, I tap off the excess and then I go for it. So we're going to start on the brow bone. I'm just going to first I place and then I swoop out. So dip into the color, tap off the excess, place, and then swoop out. Okay, now that I've done that portion, I'm going to take my transition brush. For this, you want a fluffier brush. So I'm just going to take the fourth color in the second row of the Jaclyn Hill palette. I'm going to dip in there, tap off the excess, and I'm going into the crease. Notice that my fingers are towards the end of the brush because I don't want too much pressure, because you always want to do this gradually. Everything that you blend, you want it to be a gradual blend, not straight away. That's when we get a little crazy. So just back and forth motions, just like a window wiper. You want to take most of the pigment towards the outside of your eye and push it in. Got a transition going from that lighter brow bone color to the lightest transition color. Now I'm going to go into my second transition color, which is the sixth color in the third row of the Jaclyn Hill palette. I'm going to dip into that with the same brush, tap off the excess, and continue on. As you do your transition shades, you're going darker and darker. So you want the lightest colors towards the top, going from your brow bone down, and then the darkest colors more towards the bottom of your crease. Now I'm gonna switch to a more defined crease blending brush. This one is just a little less fluffy, and it's gonna be better for packing color and making sure that I'm staying in the place that I want to. So now I'm gonna transition to the Friendcation Palette by Desi and Katie. We're gonna go into this pinky shade right here. I would say this is like a light burgundy. Tap off the excess and we're going to continue on. Now I'm packing that color lower than that last transition state, and I'm staying towards the outside for a while, and then I move in. Towards the outside, then move in. Dip into that shade one more time. It all depends on how much of that color that you want to show through. That's how many times I dip it in. So keep blending, and I use circular motions towards the outside, and when I go in, I just go back and forth back to that window scraper motion. Okay, now that we're there, now we're going to start getting into some more deeper colors. I'm going to go into the second shade from the Friendcation palette in the top row. Be careful with this one because this one gets dark. So the more pigmented the palette is, the more careful you want to be placing it onto your eyes. So I'm going to lift my brows a little bit up and place right in this position. It's the position that's right above the edge of your lid and right onto your crease. You want to pack that color in, make those circular motions going up, and then go towards the center. Just as I did for under my brow bone, I'm going to take that light concealer shade, I'm going to place it right on top of my lid, and then I'm going to show you guys how I cut my crease just a tiny bit to make that shimmer shade pop right onto my lid. So we're going to take it, and you don't want too much for this. You just want this much will suffice because we're going to blend it out with that paddle concealer brush. so you don't want too much. So I go ahead and I do both eyes. Stay close to your lash line, just so you can do the blending with the flat concealer brush. You're gonna take it. No, you don't need anything else to blend it out for this part. You just need the concealer, and you're gonna lightly, keyword lightly, tap onto that concealer and start. There's a natural crease shape right above your lid. It's what separates your crease from your lid, and it's that natural line. That's what you're gonna wanna follow in downward motion. So I'm dragging the concealer down. And you're just gonna keep going until you cover that line with concealer. And then we're gonna go to the left eye and we're gonna bring that down as well. So I typically mix the first shade from the third row in the Jaclyn Hill palette and the first and second shade. So I mix all three of those shades on a flat brush, just like this, because that is what's going to pack on the eyeshadow the best. All right, so we're going to get in there, and I mean, I take a very generous amount. So I dip in there, barely tap off the excess because this is the money maker. We need all we can get. And then I just place that on my lid, right on top of that concealer, because that concealer is what's really gonna make it pop. Then right away, I take my blender brush and the very first transition shade that I use, and I make sure that that shimmer shade did not transfer to my crease, because I want that area to stay matte. So now that's my eyeshadow done for now. There's still a few steps that I add to it, but now I'm going to move on to eyeliner and mascara. But before I do that, I wear falsies all the time. I do not have long eyelashes, so for the most part, I like to wear falsies just to give my eyelashes more volume. I do recommend using a fake lash. So these I just got at Walgreens. I use the brand Kiss in the style Spicy. All right, so for trimming my eyelashes, these typically come longer than your natural lash line, so I really wanted to match it. So I go from the inside of the eyelash, that's where I trim, because the outside has a natural vavoom effect that my natural lashes just don't do. So I need that. So you're not gonna wanna chop the end off, you're gonna wanna chop the inner corner of the lash off. You want your lash glue to be tacky when you put them on your eyelashes. You don't want them to be super wet or even dried out. So now with the time that we have before they dry out, I'm gonna do my eyeliner and my mascara. For eyeliner, I use the NYX Matte Liquid Liner. This is a holy grail of mine. It's my favorite liner to do. When you're doing winged liner, you want to start from the inner part of your lash, right when your lash starts, and then go a little bit higher as you go out, just to create that wing. All right, so I'm just gonna start on that. I'm gonna start from the inner portion of my lash and then sweep it up. And then you fill in the bottom where you swooped up and connect it from where the bottom of the end of your eye is and bring it upward. Okay, oh, winged liner needs a moment of silence. It's just one of those things that just takes time. The next thing that I'm going to do is move on to my mascara. You don't want to put a super heavy coat of mascara on right before your lashes, because then your lashes will be wet before you apply the lash, and that just makes it a bit more tricky. I use the Maybelline Lash Sensational. All right, now I'm gonna take the lash. You wanna put a mirror below your eye so that you can see where your eyelashes rise. You take the lash and you go from up. I like to do this with my fingers just because I find it easier than using a tool such as a tweezer. So just go ahead, go from above and place down. once an edge is secured, I start to push in the middle, moving on to the other edge. Okay, now we're going to move on to face. I always use a primer. First of all, when you are putting a base on, such as foundation or even like a BB cream or a CC cream, make sure that your skin is nice and clean so you're not overlapping that product on top of skin that you either already have had product on for a long time or it's just not fresh, because the best base that you want for your foundation and everything else that you put on top of that is clean skin. So just make sure you wash your face before you apply your makeup. That way your foundation will go on a lot smoother. For my primer, I use the Smashbox Minimize Pores. I feel that this one smooths my skin more than any other primer that I've tried, and it also does a good job of minimizing my pores, which are very prominent in my T-zone. Another trick for pore minimization is washing your face with cold water. That really helps to shrink pore size, and I just tap it here where I have the most pores and in my T-zone so that those areas stay nice and matte. Now for foundation, I use different foundations for different things. The first foundation that I use is the Dermablend, and this one is called Cover Creme. This is probably the fullest coverage foundation that there is, so I don't recommend using this all over your face. Otherwise, I mean, you know, if that's your vibe, you can use that all over your face, but I wouldn't recommend it just because it's so heavy and full coverage that you're just gonna walk around feeling like an art masterpiece, which you are, but maybe you don't want to feel like it. So I'm just gonna use this on the areas where I have the most prominent pores. All right, the next foundation I'm going to use is that first one that we used to clean up our brows. It's the Maybelline 24-Hour Stay. This is by far my favorite drugstore foundation. It's full coverage, it feels lightweight, and I love the color for my skin complexion. So I just do a pump on both cheeks and then smaller pumps on my forehead and chin. I take my damp beauty blender. When I say damp, I just mean I run it under water quickly, and then I squeeze the excess water out, and then it's softer, damper, it helps to blend it out more. Now I'm just going to blend this out all over my face. You want to make sure that you're using tapping motions. You don't want to swipe because that's going to move the product. Tapping motions only here. You also want to make sure you blend the foundation down your neck. You don't want to be 50 shades of foundation, so make sure that you take that color so that it matches all the way down to your neck. Now I'm going to go back into my concealer, and I don't usually wear that much concealer, but this is what really makes all of the work that you did on your eyes pop. It's like, just like when we cleaned up under our brows, this cleans up under your eyes, and really I like a bright under eye, which is why I use a lighter shade, but I only use it under my eyes, and then I only use powders to highlight the rest of the areas on my face. So I let that sit for just a little bit to make it a little bit more tacky. The more you let it sit, the more coverage that you're gonna get under your eyes. So after about 30 seconds, I'm going to blend out my under eye and make sure I'm being extremely careful around where we place that wing. Make sure you really blend under your eyes. Now I'm going to take a flat topper brush such as this and my Fit Me Maybelline Loose Powder. Shake that up just a little bit. You're going to take some of this, tap off the excess, and you're going to place it right under your eyes. Look up when you do this step to avoid creasing. And this gives us more highlight coverage. I'm going to begin to set my face with my face setting powder, which I use the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Matte. Again, using matte products to help keep our face nice and matte throughout the day. Tap off the excess. And I set the areas of my face that I need to quickly first. And then I move on to other things. So now that's set, we're gonna move on to blush. For my blush, I use a brush like this. It's just thicker on the top and it's nice and firm so that it really packs in that color where you need it to go. For blush, I use NARS and it is in this shade Seduction. So with blush, you want to be very light-handed at first. I just swirl in like that, tap off the excess, make a cute face, and then I tap it in right on my cheekbones like that. And I typically like to pat because I don't want to ruin any of the work that I've done. And then I swoop once I get towards the edge, and then make circular motions once I feel that the product has been packed on. Once I'm done with blush, I go back into that Maybelline Fit Me loose powder on a thicker brush like this, and then I sweep off the excess powder while also placing it on the outer part of my eye. I'm gonna move on to setting my face one more time. This is what really helps to seal in my foundation for the day and gives me that airbrushed effect look. So I take the MAC Studio Fix in the shade NW45. This is a very full coverage powder, so I recommend only using this when you know you're gonna be wearing makeup all day and you know you want that full coverage matte look. Now we're gonna do something exciting with the eyes. I'm gonna take this Stila Magnificent Metal Eyeshadow. It's the Glitter and Glow Liquid Eyeshadow, and this is in the shade Kitten Karma. This is what really helps to make my eyeshadow pop. I love when it sparkles just a little bit. Sometimes I'll do this instead of eyeshadow, but most times I put it on as a topper on top of my shimmer shade that I used from that Jaclyn Hill palette. So I'm just gonna take it, and with a light hand, I'm gonna go above and just place it on the center of my lid mostly, and then I spread it out just a tiny bit. And then I also put it into the inner corner for more of a pop in my eyes. I let that dry just for a little bit because I don't want the glitter to transfer onto the matte crease that we have created. We're too far gone, we can't be messing up here. So just make sure you let that dry first. Perfect. Now I'm going to take a white eyeliner, and since I have so much drama going on my eyes, this is gonna help to make my eyes pop, and since I've got brown eyes, I need all the help I can get making my eyes pop. So I take this white eyeliner and I put it just in the waterline. You don't want it below the waterline unless that's a look that you're going for, but if you're wanting to just make your eyes pop, then you just want it into your waterline. So I look down, all right, now I'm just going to take a transition shade from the Jaclyn Hill palette. I'm taking the 5th shade from the 2nd row, and I'm just blending that right under my waterline. So look up and blend across. This will help to connect the shades that we have in our crease. Careful not to get shadow in your eye. Just like that. And I typically just do one just because I like the look of one blown out shade on the bottom. Now I'm going to take my mascara and do my bottom lashes. All right, now that I'm done with my bottom lashes, I'm pretty much on the final steps. I'm gonna take the Urban Decay De-Slick. This is my favorite setting spray. It's a holy grail. It works for me every time. I put this spray on, I can go to bed, I can go out, I can wake up from a nap, and my makeup still looks like this. So I do about 4 sprays. Sometimes I get carried away. That's fine. Just do as many as you feel is going to soak up all the powders. Then I just let that dry. While that dries, I'm going to start on my lips, which is the final step. I'm going to take the MAC matte lipstick, and the shade is Russian Red. These are staples for me. I love MAC lipsticks. They go on smoothly, they last a long time, and they're pigmented, so I highly recommend these. I'm going to put on a darker gloss, so I'm not going to put on too much of this shade. Now that I've got that MAC shade down, I'm going to use the NYX Butter Gloss. These are super good. This is in the shade Devil's Food Cake, which is... Okay, let's switch to another mirror. This is in the shade Devil's Food Cake, and I'm just going to put that on top. I love a glossy lip. And that is the completed look. I'm gonna go put on my outfit of the day, and I'm gonna show you guys a few clips of my makeup up close. But this is the finished look. Thank you so much for watching.